Welcome back as we close in on the tail end of the Stella 250, round number 4 of the Inland Off-Road Championship, and picking up on the guys that had a slightly better day at the office. For the G4s, the Calex, Sound Hire, Can-Am Maverick of Glenn Chiron and Craig Galvin were not having the cleanest run this time around. They did manage to grab the class lead during the first loop and were going along swimmingly when trouble started. At the start of the second and final loop, the crew heard a knocking sound somewhere in the front suspension. They decided to stop and check out what it could be, but couldn't see anything too obvious. Then, during the time they were by the roadside, they lost the G-Class lead to the Mostert brothers. They decided to continue on, nursing the car as best they could, and continuing to hear that terrifying knocking noise all the way until they did actually see the finish line. A relieved crew took second place in Class G to continue their dominance and stay out in the championship points lead for the Class Gs. To be fair, this was the first tiny chink in the armor of the unstoppable Bumblebee. For the G1s, the dreaded limp mode once again reared its ugly head in the race that so often comes out in these extreme heat conditions. For the Mosterts, they also landed on the wrong side of the fence a few times, costing them extra time along the way. However, the experienced crew kept fighting and were elated to eventually reach the finish line first in Class G. Even though they'd had their issues, they still somehow were able to bring it home in limp mode and take the win. Could this be the turning point of their season and their championship? Remember, they have not been able to buy good luck the whole way through 2020 up until this point. A lot of work was done in the service park between the end of the prologue and the start of the main race for the Propeller Center Toyota Land Cruiser of Terence DeToy and James O'Mahony. It certainly seemed to pay off though, as the car was in much better shape, in control, and the team could push much harder than they could in the morning session. A great second place in Class D came at the finish line, and yet again they had to wait to see if they could claim a victory in 2020. Still, consistent number 2 spots were keeping them in the hunt and keeping their championship rivals looking in their rearview mirrors. Still, at this stage of the championship, the D-Class is not quite decided. Not just yet. The absolutely stunning looking and extremely well prepped gearbox service bat Spec Zero of Tony and Mike Cavea certainly sounded the part as well. The sweet sounding Nissan 350Z motor at full tilt is something to behold. No major issues for the father and son pairing this time around, and they crossed the finish line first in Class P to add to their victory tally at the previous event, making it 2 out of 2 for the up-and-coming and returning Bat. For the Caveas, it's great to see what they have done. They've had a couple of cars throughout their racing career and have developed to the point where they can really put together an incredible race car and, with it, an incredible set of race finishes. This one would have tasted super sweet. The first one, you always question, did I just get lucky? Then you confirm it with another one at the next round. What a story on the season for the D11, the D11. 4 finishes and 4 wins out of 4 starts is the tally for Stompy Meinhardt and Adrian Roots in the Star Lubricants Caltex Dello Cruiser. The team reported no issues or problems whatsoever. They had a super clean run and are having an impeccable season. In fact, one of the few crews across all categories, regional and national, that may go on to record the Golden Championship. In other words, undefeated at every single race. Could they well go on and claim that illustrious prize? For now, it's all coming up roses. With the D-Class decided and third overall, it meant we were heading to the big dogs, running second and first at the Stella 250. For the S2 squad, it was definitely bringing back the old warhorse, and with it, the pace. Back to winning ways for Jannie Visser and Donnie Moret in the trusty old Hilux. Another of the crews reporting an absolutely squeaky clean run. Very few mistakes on the notes and no mechanical issues. They reveled in the conditions and strolled home ahead of the rest of the Class S competitors with a massive time buffer, taking a well-deserved and much-needed win after a ton of mechanicals during the early part of the season. Out of the Ford, into the Toyota, and back onto the podium. With the S2 home, it was no big surprise. Once again, it seems to have been the story of the season. Absolutely unstoppable and untouchable at regional championship level. Pole position on the qualifying prologue, even with a couple of small mistakes. Fastest times on both of the loops, and never looking back. After loop number 1, they simply removed the rear view mirrors and trucked on forwards, looking for the next flag to try and extend and look for victory. It has been an amazing season for Ernst Roberts and Henry Kerner in the Inland Off-Road Championship, and once again they are the most spectacular crew to watch, hanging it out and pointing the toe. Another checkered flag and another feather in the cap, winning the illustrious Stella 250 in 2020. One step closer to the championship. Here's a breakdown of all our results throughout the rest of the categories come the end of play. Class P's was all about Tony and Mike Gavea getting their big win. Class B, the in-house battle once again. The ladies won. Carleen and Morena ahead of Sophie and Arthur. For the Class FIA vehicles, no big surprise. Ernst Roberts and Henry Kerner getting it ahead of an elated second place for Philip Buerter and Roelof Janssen van Vuren. And in Class S, Jannie Visser and Donnie Moret, the only Class S to see the flag. In Class D, which gave us some incredible racing in the top 3, it was a clean scorecard once again for Meinhardt and Roots ahead of Dutoy and O'Mahony, and Van Veek and Visser. At Class E was all about Johan Visser at the top with Besson. In Class F, all about Aki and Jandre Kruger, the father and son pair, bringing home the Class F. And in Class G, the side-by-sides, Werner and Leon Mostert back on top finally in 2020. As we edge closer towards the end of the 2020 championship, but after this race we caught up with a couple of reactions down in DSP.
Hi, Francois from D33 again. We had an awesome day. The race was nicely managed, everything was going 100%. We had a bit of issues with the car. We broke a front shock and the ball joint, and on the second lap we were out, but we had an awesome time. We ran the engine in, the bucky went nicely. Very, very nice day. Thank you to the organizers, thank you to Stompy for his farm. Awesome event. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you very much again. It's Bidi the branch from Ural Trucks, and once again we had a very nice day here at Stella with all the racing. The event is almost over and almost all the cars finished, and it was a brilliant day and a brilliant day of racing. Thank you very much.
That's round number 4 of the Inland Off-Road Championship wrapped up. Thanks to the Stella 250 once again for giving us incredible racing. Next up will be the Merendal 250 out in the Free State that was held on the 31st of October. We'll be airing that on the 5th of December, so keep an eye on the press for that one.